Where's your tobacco? I think I left it on the table. Gonna rain tonight.
Paper says so.
Yeah, right here.
But it can't rain.
Hi.
Hello, Frank. What's he doing?
Nothing. Walking off my breakfast. That beautiful. Not a cloud.
Yeah, nice.
Every Sunday ought to be like this.
You want the paper?
Oh, what's the difference? It's all bad news. What's today's calamity?
Oh, I don't know. I don't read the news part much anymore. It's more interesting in the one ads.
Why? You trying to buy something?
No, I'm just interested to see what people want, you know. For instance, here is a guy looking for 2 Newfoundland dogs. What's he want with 2 Newfoundland dogs?
That is funny.
Here's another one. Wanted. Old dictionaries. High prices paid. What's a guy gonna do with an old dictionary?
Why not? Probably a book collector.
You mean he'll make a living out of that?
Sure, there's a lot of them.
All the kind of business going on. In my day, you're either a doctor or a lawyer, or you worked in a shop. Now,
Well, I was going to be a forester once.
it shows you. In my day, there's no such thing. Look at a page like this and realize how ignorant you are.
Hey, what happened to your tree?
Oh, ain't that awful? The wind must have got it last night. You heard the wind, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a mess in my yard, too. What a pity. What'd Kate say?
Oh, they're all asleep yet. I'm just waiting for her to see it.
You know, it's funny.
What?
Well, Larry was born in August. He'd been 27 this month, and his tree glows out.
I'm surprised you remembered his birthday, Frank. That's nice.
Well, I'm working on his horoscope.
How can you make him a horoscope? That's for the future, ain't it?
What I'm doing is this, see? Larry was reported missing on November 25th, right?
Yeah.
So if he was killed, we could assume it was on November 25th. Now, what Kate wants me to find
Oh,
out...
Kate asked you to make the horoscope.
Yeah. What Kate wants me to find out is whether November 25th was a favorable day for Larry.
What is that? Favorable day.
Well, a favorable day for a person is a fortunate day according to the stars. In other words, it'd be practically impossible for him to have died on his favorable day.
What was that, his favorable day, November 25th?
That's what I'm working to find out. It takes time. See, the point is, if November 25th was his favorable day, then it is completely possible that he's alive somewhere. Because, I mean, it's possible. I didn't even see you.
Is he talking sense?
Him? And he's all right. He's just completely out of his mind, that's all.
The trouble with you is you don't believe in anything.
Your trouble is you believe in anything. You didn't see my kid this morning, did you?
No.
Imagine that. He walked off with his thermometer right out of his bag.
What a problem. One look at a girl and he takes her temperature.
That boy's gonna be a real doctor. He's smart.
Over my dead body, he'll be a doctor. A good beginning, too.
Why? It's an honorable profession.
Frank, will you stop talking like a civics book?
Say, I saw a movie a couple weeks ago. It reminded me of you. There was a doctor in that picture.
Don Amici.
I think it was, yeah. And he worked in his basement discovering things, and that's what you ought to do. You could help humanity instead of...
I would love to help humanity on a Warner Brothers salary.
That's very good, Jim.
Well, where's the beautiful girl that's supposed to be here?
Annie Kane?
Sure thing. Sleeping upstairs. We picked up on the 1 o'clock train last night. Wonderful thing. Girl leaves here, a scrawny kid. A couple of years go by, she's a regular woman. I hardly even recognized her. She was running in and out of this yard all her life. I was a very happy family used to live in your house, Jim.
Like to meet her. The block of you's a pretty girl. In the whole neighborhood, there's not a damn thing to look at. Except my wife, of course.
Mrs. Adams is on the phone, dog.
Such is the condition which prevails. My love, my light.
Don't sniff around me. Give her a nasty answer. I can smell her perfume over the phone.
What's the matter with her now?
I don't know, dear. She sounds like she's in terrible pain. Unless her mouth is full of candy.
Why don't you just tell her to lay down?
She enjoys it more when you tell her to lay down. And when are you going to see Mr. Hubbard?
My dear, Mr. Hubbard is not sick. And I have better things to do than to sit there and hold his hand.
It seems to me that for $10 you can hold his hand.
If your son wants to play golf, tell him I'm ready. Or if you'd like to take a trip around the world for about 30 years.
Why do you need him then? He's a doctor. Women are supposed to call him up.
All I said was that Mrs. Adams is on the phone. Can I have some of your parsley?
Yeah, sure. You were a nurse too long, Susie. You're too realistic.
Now you said it.
Frank! Frank, the toaster. Hiya.
Hello.
The toaster's off again.
Well, plug it back in. I just fixed it.
Please, dear, fix it back like it was before.
I don't know why you can't learn to plug in a simple thing like a toaster.
Tom's husband.
He's really very handy. Oh, did the one get your treat?
Yeah, last night.
What a pity. Annie get in?
Sure, she'll be down soon. Wait till you meet her, Sue. She's a knockout.
I should have been a man. People always introducing me to beautiful women. Tell her to come over later. Imagine she'd like to see what we did with their house. Thanks.
She's still unhappy, Joe?
Annie? Oh, I don't suppose she goes around dancing on her toes, but she seems to be over it.
She going to get married? Is there anyone?
I don't suppose. Say, it's a couple years already. Can't mourn a boy forever.
It's so strange. Annie's here and not even married. And I've got 3 babies. I always thought it'd be the other way around.
That's what a war does. I had 2 sons, now I got 1. Changed all the talents. In my day, when you had sons, it was an honor. Now a doctor can make $1 million if you can figure out a way to bring a boy in this world without a trigger finger.
Hiya, Chris.
Lydia! Come in here. Next time you want the toaster to work, don't plug in the malted mixer.
Did I?
Next time I fix something, don't tell me I'm crazy. Now come in here.
Never gonna hear the end of this one.
What's the difference? Instead of toast, have a malted!
Oh, shh.
Want the paper?
That's all right. Just the book section.
Always reading the book section and you never buy a book.
I like to keep abreast of my ignorance.
What is that? Every week a new book comes out?
I'm new books.
All different?
All different.
Annie up yet?
Mother's giving her breakfast in the dining room.
See what happened to the tree? What's Mother going to say?
You're finally up!
Ha Bert's here! Where's Tommy? He's got to spot his thermometer again.
He's taking a reading,
What?
but it's only oral.
Oh, well, there's no harm in oral. So what's new this morning, Bert?
Nothing.
Well, then you couldn't have made a complete inspection of the block. In the beginning, when I first made you a policeman, you used to come in every morning with something new. Now nothing's ever new.
Well, except when kids from 30th Street, they started kicking a can down the block, and I made them go away, because you were sleeping.
Now you're talking, Bert. Now you're on the ball. First thing you know, I'm liable to make you a detective.
Can I see the jail now?
See, the jail ain't allowed, Bert. You know that.
Oh, I bet you there isn't even a jail. I don't see any bars on the cellar windows.
Bert, on my word of honor, there's a jail in that basement. I showed you my gun, didn't I?
But that's a hunting
Oh,
gun.
that's an arresting gun.
Then why didn't you ever arrest anybody? Tommy said another dirty word to Doris yesterday, and you didn't even demote him.
That's a dangerous character, that Tommy. What word does he say?
Oh, I can't say that.
Well, give me an idea.
I can't. It's not a nice word.
Just whisper it in my ears. I'll close my eyes. Maybe I won't even hear it.
I can't, Mr. Keller.
Don't make them do that.
Okay, Bert, I take your word for it. Now go on out and keep both eyes peeled.
For what?
For what? Bert, the whole neighborhood's depending on you. Policemen don't ask questions. Now peel them eyes.
Okay.
And mom's a word, Bert.
About what?
Just in general. Be very careful.
Okay.
I got all the kids crazy.
One of these days, they'll all come in here and beat your brains out.
So what you gonna say? Maybe we ought to tell her before she sees it?
She saw it.
How could she have seen it? I was the first one up. She was still in bed.
She was out here when it broke.
When?
About 4 this morning. I heard it cracking and I woke up and looked out. She was standing right here when it cracked.
What was she doing out here 4 in the morning?
I don't know. When it cracked, she ran back in the house and cried in the kitchen.
Did you talk to her?
No, I figured the best thing to do was leave her alone.
She cried hard?
I could hear right to the floor of my room.
What was she doing out here at that hour? She's dreaming about him again. She's walking around.
Yes, she is.
She's getting just like after he died. What's the meaning of that?
I don't know the meaning of it. But I do know one thing, Dad. We have made a terrible mistake with Mother.
What?
Being dishonest with her? That kind of thing always pays off, and now it's paying off.
What do you mean dishonest?
You know Larry's not coming back, and I know it. Why do we go on allowing her to believe that we believe with her?
What are you gonna do, argue with her?
I don't want to argue with her. But it's time she realized that nobody believes Larry's alive anymore. I mean, why shouldn't she dream of him? Walk the nights waiting for him? Do we contradict her? Do we say flat out that we don't have any hope anymore? That we haven't had any hope for years now?
You can't say that to
We've
her.
got to say that to
So
her.
how are you gonna prove it? Can you prove
For
it?
God's sakes, 3 years? Nobody comes back after 3 years. It's insane.
To you it is, and to me. But not to her. You talk yourself blue in the face, but there's no body, and there's no grave. So where are you?
Sit down, Dad. I want to talk to you.
Trouble is the goddamn newspapers. Every month some boy turns over.
All right. Listen, Dad. You know why I asked Annie here, don't you?
Why?
You know.
I got an idea, but what's the story?
I'm going to ask her to marry me.
That's only your business, Chris.
You know it's not only my business.
What do you want me to do? You're old enough to know your own mind.
And that's all right? I'll go ahead with it?
You want to be sure Mother.
Then it isn't my
I'm
business.
just saying.
Sometimes you infuriate me. You know that? Isn't it your business too if I tell this to Mother and she throws a fit about it? You have such a talent for ignoring things.
I ignore what I gotta ignore. The girl's Larry's girl.
She's not Larry's girl.
From Mother's point of view, he is not dead. You have no right to take his girl. Now, you can go from there if you know where to go, but I'm telling you, I don't know. See? I don't know. Now, what can I do for you?
I don't know why it is, but every time I want to reach out for something I want, I have to pull back because other people will suffer. My whole bloody life, time after time after time.
You're a considerate fella. There's nothing wrong in
To
that.
hell with that.
Did you ask Annie yet?
I wanted to get this settled first.
Well, how do you know she'll marry him? Maybe she feels the same way Mother does.
Well, if she does, and that's the end of it. From her letters, I think she's forgotten him. I'll find out and then we'll thrash this out with Mother. Right, Dad? Dad, don't avoid me.
The trouble is you don't see enough women. You never did.
So what? I'm not fast with women.
I don't see why it has to be Annie.
Because it is.
That's a good answer, but don't answer. You haven't seen her since you went to war. It's 5 years.
So what? I know her best. I mean, I was raised up next to her. These years, when I think of someone for my wife, I think of Annie. What, do you want a diagram?
I don't want a diagram. It's just... She thinks he's coming back, Chris. You marry this girl, you're pronouncing him dead. Do you know what's going to happen to Mother? I don't.
All right then, Dad.
Just give it some more thought.
I've given it 3 years of thought. I thought by now Mother would forget Larry and we'd have a regular wedding and everything happy. But if that can happen here, I'll just have to get out.
What the hell is this?
I'll get out. I'll get married and live someplace else, maybe New York.
Are you crazy?
I've been a good son too long. A good sucker, I'm through with it.
We've got a business here. What the hell is
The
this?
business. The business doesn't inspire me.
Must you be inspired?
Yes. I'd like it an hour a day. I mean, if I have to grub for money all day long, at least that evening I want it beautiful. I want a family. I want some kids. I want to build something I can give myself to, and Annie is in the middle of that. Now, where do I find it?
You mean, tell me something. You mean you would leave the business?
Yes. On this I would.
Well, you don't want to think like that.
Then help me stay here.
All right. All right. Just don't think like that. What the hell did I work for? It's only for you, Chris. The whole shooting match was for you.
I know that, Dad. Just help me stay here.
Just don't think like that.
I am thinking like that.
I don't understand it, do I?
No, you don't. I'm a pretty tough guy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Joe,
Hello, Mom.
did you take a bag out from under the sink?
Yeah, I put it in the pail.
Well, get it out of the pail. That's my potatoes.
I thought it was garbage.
Will you do me a favor, Joe? Don't be helpful.
I could afford another bag of potatoes.
Minnie scoured that pail of boiling water last night. It's cleaner than your teeth.
And I don't see why after I worked 40 years and I got a maid, why I have to take out the garbage.
If you would make up your mind that every bag in the kitchen isn't full of garbage, you wouldn't keep throwing out my vegetables. Last time it was the onions.
I don't like garbage in the house.
Then don't eat.
That's what I'll do for today.
Yeah, I'm in last place again. I don't know. Once upon a time, I used to think that when I got money again, I'd get a maid and my wife would take it easy. Now I got money, and I got a maid. My wife is working for the maid.
Her day off. What are you crabbing about?
Hey, isn't Annie finished eating?
She'll be right out. When did some job on this place, huh? So much for that, thank God.
Sit down. Take it easy.
I've got such a funny pain on the top of my head.
Can I get you an aspirin?
No more roses. It's so funny. Everything decides to happen at the same time. This month it's his birthday. His tree blows over. Annie comes. Everything that happens seems to be coming back. I was just down the cellar. What do I stumble over? His baseball glove. Haven't seen it in a century.
Don't you think Annie looks well?
Fine. There's no question about it. She's a beauty. Still don't know what brought her here. Not that I'm not glad to see her.
Well, I just figured we'd all like to see each other again. And I wanted to see her myself.
The only thing is I think her nose got longer. But I'll always love that girl. She's one that didn't jump into bed with somebody else as soon as it happened with her fella.
Oh, what are you talking
Never mind. Most of them didn't wait till the telegrams were opened. I'm just glad she came so you can see I'm not completely out of my mind.
Just because she isn't married doesn't mean she's been mourning Larry.
Why then isn't she?
Well, it could have been any number of things.
Like what, for instance?
I don't know. Whatever it is. Can I get you that aspirin?
It's not like a headache.
You don't sleep, that's why. She's wearing out more bedroom slippers than shoes.
I had a terrible night. Never had a night like that.
What was it, Mom? Did you dream?
More than a dream.
About Larry?
Remember the way he used to fly low past the house when he was in training? We used to see his face in the cockpit going by. That's the way I saw him. Only high up. Way, way up where the clouds are. He was so real I could reach out and touch him. And suddenly he started to fall. And crying to me. Mom, Mom! I could hear him like he was in the room. Mom! It was his voice. If I could touch him, I knew I could stop him. If I could only... I woke up. And it was so funny. The wind, it sounded just like the roaring of his engine. I came out here and I must have still been half asleep. I could hear the roaring like he was going by. Tree snapped right in front of me. And I came awake. See, we never should have planted that tree. I said so in the first place. It was too soon to plant a tree for him.
Too soon?
We rushed into it. Everybody was in such a hurry to bury him. I said not to. I told you.
Please, the wind blew it down. What significance has that got? Mother, please do not go through it all again. It's no good. It doesn't accomplish anything. I've been thinking, maybe we ought to put our minds to forgetting Larry.
It's the third time you've said that this week.
Because it's not right. I mean, we never took up our lives again. We're like at a railroad station waiting for a train that never comes in.
Get me that aspirin, huh?
Sure. Well, let's break out of this, huh, Mom? I thought the four of us might want to go out dancing a couple of nights. Maybe go out to dinner out at the shore.
Fine. We can do it tonight.
Swell with me.
Sure, let's have some fun. We'll start with that aspirin.
Why did you invite her here?
Why does that bother you?
She's been in New York 3.5 years. Why all of a sudden?
Well, maybe you just wanted to see her.
Nobody comes 700 miles just to see.
What do you mean? You live next door to the girl's life. Why shouldn't you want to see her? Don't look at me like that. He didn't tell me any more than he told you.
He's not going to marry her.
How do you know he's even thinking of it?
He's got that about it.
Well, so what?
What's going on here, Joe?
Now listen,
She's
kid.
not his girl, Joe. She knows she's not.
You can't read her mind.
Then why is she still single? She's been in New York 3 years. Why isn't she married? Probably 100 people told her she's foolish, but she's waited.
How do you know why she's waited?
Because she knows what I know. That's why. She's faithful as a rock. In my worst moments, I think of her waiting, and I know again that I'm right.
Look, it's a nice day. What are we arguing for?
No one in this house does take her faith away, Joe. Strangers might, but not his father, his brother.
What do you want me to do? What do you want?
I want you to act like he's coming back. Both of you. Don't think I haven't noticed you since Chris invited her. I won't stand for any nonsense.
But Kate-
Because if he's not coming back, then I'll kill myself. Laugh. Laugh at me, but why does that happen the very night she came here? Laugh, but there are meetings and such things. She goes to sleep in his room, and his memorial breaks into pieces. Look at it. Look.
Calm yourself.
Joe, believe with me, Joe. I can't stand all
Calm
alone.
yourself.
Only last week a man turned up in Detroit missing even longer than Larry. You read it yourself.
All right. Calm yourself.
You above all have got to believe, Joe.
What's me above all?
Just don't stop believing.
What does that mean, me above all?
Mr. Keller! Say Mr. Keller! Tommy said it again.
Said who?
The dirty word.
Oh, well.
Gee, well, aren't you gonna arrest him?
Stop that, Bert. Go home. There's no jail here.
Kate.
There's no jail here. I want you to stop that jail business.
He's right across the street.
Go home, Bert. I want you to stop that, Joe. The whole jail business.
Look at you shaking.
I can't help it.
What have I got to hide? What the hell is the matter with you, Kate?
I didn't say you had anything to hide. I'm just telling you to stop it. Now stop it.
Hiya, Joe!
Take a breath of that air, kid. Never got air like that in New York.
Annie, where'd you get that dress?
I couldn't resist. I'm taking it right off before I ruin it. How's that for 3 weeks' salary?
Oh, isn't she the most... Oh, it's gorgeous. Simply gorgeous.
No kidding. Isn't she the prettiest gal you ever saw?
You gained a little weight, didn't you, darling?
Here comes and goes.
Look how nice her legs turned out.
Boy, the poplars got thick, didn't they?
Say, it's 3 years, Annie. We're getting old, kid.
Why'd they take our hammock away?
Oh, no, it broke a couple years back.
What broke? He had one of his light lunches and flopped into it.
Oh, excuse me.
How do you do? She looks very intelligent.
And this is Jim, Dr. Bayless.
Oh, sure. He writes a lot about you.
Don't believe it. He likes everybody. In the battalion, he was known as Mother McKellar.
I can believe it. You know what's so strange seeing him come out of that yard? It's like I never grew up. It almost seems that Mom and Pop are in there now, and you and my brother doing algebra, and Larry trying to copy my homework. Gosh, those dear dead days beyond recall.
Oh, well, I hope that doesn't mean you want me to move out.
Jim! Come in here, Mr. Hubbard's on the phone!
I told you I don't want to
Please,
talk.
dear, please!
All right, Susie. All right. I've only met you, Ann, but if I may offer a piece of advice, when you marry, never, even in your mind, never count your husband's money.
Jim!
At once! At once!
I told her to pick up the guitar. It'd be a common interest for them. Well, he loves the guitar.
Let's do the shore tonight. Raising hell around here like we used to before Larry went.
You think of him. You see, she thinks of him.
What do you mean, Kate?
Nothing, just that you remember him. He's in your thoughts.
That's a funny thing to say. How could I help remembering him?
Did you hang up your things?
Yeah. So you sure I've gone in for clothes. I could hardly find room in the closet.
Don't you remember? That's Larry's room.
You mean they're Larry's?
Didn't you recognize them?
Well, I mean, it never occurred to me that you... I mean, the shoes are all shines.
Yes, dear. For so long I've been aching to have such a nice conversation with you, Annie. Tell me something.
What?
Oh, I don't know, something nice.
She means, do you go out?
Oh, shut up.
And are any of them serious?
For one, you both choke.
Seriously, Annie, you can't go to a restaurant with this woman anymore. 5 minutes, 39 strange people are sitting at our table telling her their life story.
If I can't ask Annie a personal question...
Well, asking her is all right, but don't beat her over the head. You're beating her. You're beating her.
Don't let them bulldoze you, Kate. Ask me anything you'd like. What do you want to know, Kate? Come on, let's gossip.
She's the only one that's got any sense. Your mom. She's not getting a divorce now, is she?
No, she's calmed down about it now. I think when he gets out, they'll probably live together. In New York, of course.
Well, that's fine, because your father is still... He's a decent man after all is said and done.
I don't care. She can take him back if she likes.
And you? You go out much.
You mean, am I still waiting for him?
Well, no, I don't expect you to wait for him, but...
But that's what you need, isn't it?
Well, yes.
Well, I'm not, Kate.
You're not?
Isn't it ridiculous? You don't imagine.
I mean, I know, but don't say it's ridiculous because the papers are full of it. I don't know about New York, but just the other day there was half a page about a man missing even longer than Larry, and he turned up in Burma.
Well, he couldn't have wanted to come home very badly, Mom.
Don't be so smart.
You can have a hell of a time in Burma.
So I've heard.
Mother, I bet you that you're the only woman in the country who after 3 years is still...
You're sure?
Yes, I am.
Well, if you're sure, then you're sure. They don't say it on the radio, but I'm sure that in the dark at night they're still waiting for their sons.
Mother, you are
Don't
absolutely...
be so intelligent! Now stop that! There's some things you don't know, all of you. And I'll tell you one of them, Annie. Deep, deep in your heart, you've always been waiting for him.
No, Kate.
But deep in your heart,
She ought to know, shouldn't she?
don't let them tell you what to think. Listen to your heart, and only your heart.
Why did your heart tell you he's alive?
Because he has to be.
But why, Kate?
Because certain things have to be, and certain things can never be. Like the sun has to rise. It has to be. That's why there's God. Otherwise, anything could happen, but there's God, so certain things can never happen. I would know, Annie. Just like the day he went into that terrible battle. Did he write me? Was it in the papers? No, but that morning I could barely lift my head off the pillow. Ask Joe. Suddenly, I knew. I knew. And he was nearly killed that day. And you know that I'm right.
No, Kate.
I have to have some tea.
Annie, how are you? Gee whiz!
Hi, Frank. You've lost some weight?
He's got responsibility.
Gee whiz!
And without Frank, the stars wouldn't know when to come out.
You look more womanly. You've matured.
Take it easy, Frank. You're a married man.
Still haberdashery?
Oh, why not? Maybe I too can get to be president. How's your brother? Got his degree, I hear.
Oh, George, he has his own office now.
Don't say. And your dad? Is he?
Fine. I'll be in to see you again.
How about it? Does dad expect a parole soon?
I really don't
Because I
know.
feel, you know, if an intelligent man like your father is put in prison, there ought to be a law that says either you execute him or you let him go.
Hey, Frank, you need a hand with that ladder, buddy?
Finish that horoscope. Tonight, Kate. See you later, Andy. You look wonderful.
How did they stop talking about Dad?
Nobody talks about him anymore.
Gone and forgotten, kid.
Tell me, because I don't want to meet anybody on the block if you're going
I
to.
don't want you to worry about it.
Do they still remember the case, Joe? Do they talk about you?
The only one who still talks about it is my wife.
That's because you keep on playing policeman with the kids. All their parents hear out of you is jail, jail, jail.
Actually, what happened is when I got home from the penitentiary, the kids got very interested in me. You know, kids. I was like the expert on the jail situation. And as time passed, they got it confused, and I ended up a detective.
Except they didn't get it confused. He hands out police badges from the post-hosties box.
Wonderful to be laughing about it.
All right, what'd you expect?
The last thing I remember on this block was one word: murderers. Remember that, Kate? Mrs. Hammond standing in front of our house yelling that word? She's still around, I suppose?
They're all still around.
Don't listen to her. Every Saturday night, the whole gang's playing poker in this arbor. The one's yelling murderer, taking my money now.
Don't, Joe. She's a sensitive girl. Don't fool her. They still remember about Dad. It's different with him. He was exonerated. Your father's still there. That's why I wasn't so enthusiastic about you coming. Honestly, Anne, I know how
Look,
sensitive you are.
you do like I did, you'll be all right. The day I come home, I get out of my car, but not in front of the house. On the corner. You should have been there, Annie. You too, Chris. You'd have seen something. Everybody knew I was getting out that day. The porches were loaded. Picture it now. None of them believed I was innocent. The story was I pulled a fast one getting myself exonerated. So I get out of my car and I walk past the porches. But slowly, with a smile. The beast. I was the beast. The guy who sold cracked cylinder heads in the Army Air Force. The guy made 21 P-40s crash in Australia. Kid, walking down the street that day, I was guilty as hell. Except I wasn't. And I had the court paper in my pocket to prove I wasn't. So I walked past the porches. Result? 14 months later, I had one of the best shops in the state again. A respected man again. Bigger than ever.
Joe McGuts.
That's the only way you lick 'em is guts. The worst thing you did was move away from here, Annie. You made it tough for your father when he gets out. That's why I tell you. I'd like to see him move right back in on this block.
How could they move back?
It ain't gonna end until they move back. Till people play cards with him again and talk with them and smile with them. And play cards with him, man. You know he can't be a murderer. And the next time you ride him, I'd like you to tell him just what I said.
Don't you hold anything against him?
Oh, I never believed in crucifying people.
But he was your partner. He dragged you through the mud.
Well, he ain't my sweetheart, but you gotta forgive, don't you?
You either pay, don't you?
The next time you ride Dad,
I don't ride him.
well, every now and then,
No, I've never written him. Neither has my brother. Say, do you feel this way too?
He murdered 21
well,
pilots.
what the hell kind of talk is that?
That's not a thing to say about a man.
What else can you say? When they took him away, I followed him. I went to him every visiting day. I was crying all the time until the news came about Larry. Then I realized it's wrong to pity a man like that. Father or no father, there's only one way to look at it. He knowingly shipped out parts that would crash an airplane, and how do you know that Larry wasn't one of them?
I was waiting for that. Annie, as long as you're here, I want to ask you to never say that again.
You surprised me. I thought you'd be mad at him.
What your father did had nothing to do with Larry. Nothing.
But we can't know that.
As long as you're here.
But Kate...
Put that out of your head.
Because it's-
That's all. And that's enough. Now come inside and have some tea with me.
The one thing
He's
is,
not dead. So there's no argument. Now come.
in a minute. Now look,
All right,
Annie.
Dad, forget it.
No, she doesn't
I'm
feel that
sick
way.
of the whole subject. Now cut it out.
You wanted to go on like this? Those parts went into P-40s only. You know Larry never flew a P-40.
Oh, so who flew those B-40s? Pigs?
The man was a fool, but don't make a murderer out of him. You got no sense? Look what it does to her. You need to appreciate what he was doing in that shop during the war. The both of you. It was a madhouse. Every half hour, the major calling, asking for cylinder heads. They were whipping us with the telephone. The trucks were hot and way hot, damn near. Just try to see it human. See it human. All of a sudden, a batch comes out with a crack. That happens. That's the business. A fine hairline crack. So he's a little man, your father. Always scared of loud voices. Well, what do the majors say? After Dave's production shot, what'll I say? You know what I mean? Human. So, he takes out his tools and he covers the cracks. All right. It's bad. It's wrong. It's what a little man does. Annie, I tell you, if I could have gone in that day, I told him, junk him, Steve. We can afford it. Maloney was afraid. And I know he meant no harm. He believed they'd hold up 100%. That's a mistake. But it ain't murder. Listen, you mustn't feel this way about it, Annie. You understand me? It ain't right.
Joe, let's forget it.
Annie, the day the news came about Larry, he was in the next cell of mine, Dad. He cried, Annie. He cried half the night.
You should have cried all night.
I do not understand why
Are you gonna stop it?
Don't yell at him. He just wants everybody happy.
That's my sentiments. You stand steak?
And champagne.
Now you're operating. I'll call Swanson's for a table. A big night tonight, Annie.
Can't scare me.
I like that girl. Wrap her up. You got nice legs, Annie. I want to see everybody drunk tonight. Look at him. He's blushing.
Drink your tea, Casanova. Isn't he a great guy?
You're the only one I know who loves his parents.
I know. Went out of style, didn't it?
It's all right. It's a good thing. You know what's lovely here? The air is sweet.
You're not sorry you came?
Not sorry, no. But I'm not going to stay.
Why?
In the first place, your mother as much as told me to go.
Well,
You saw that, and then you've been kind of,
what?
well, kind of embarrassed ever since I got here.
The trouble is, I plan on sneaking up on you with a period of a week or so. But they take it for granted that we're all set.
I knew they would, your mother anyway.
How'd you know?
From her point of view, why else would I come?
Well, I mean, would you want to? I guess this is why I asked you to come.
I guess this is why I came.
Anne, I love you. I love you a great deal. I love you. I have no imagination, that's all I know to tell you. I'm embarrassing you. I mean, I didn't want to tell it to you here. I wanted to go someplace we've never been. A place where we'd be brand new to each other. You feel it's wrong here, don't you? This yard, this chair. I want you to be ready for me. I don't want to win you away from anything.
Well, Chris, I've been ready a long, long time.
Then he's gone forever, you're sure.
I almost got married 2 years ago.
Why didn't you?
You started to write to me.
And you felt something that far back?
Every day since.
Why didn't you tell me?
I was waiting for you, Chris. Till then you never wrote, and when you did, what did you say? You sure can't be ambiguous, you know?
I kissed Annie? How long have I been waiting to kiss you?
Never forget you. Why did you wait all these years? All I've done is sit and wonder if I was crazy for thinking of you.
We're going to live now. I'm going to make you so happy.
Not like that, you're not.
I kissed you.
Like Larry's brother. Do it like you, Chris. What is it, Chris?
Come on. Let's drive someplace. I want to be alone with you.
No, what is it, Chris? Your mother?
No, it's not that.
Then what's wrong? Even in your letters, there is something ashamed.
Yes, I suppose I have been. But it's going from me.
You've got to tell me.
I don't know where to start.
It wouldn't work this way.
It's all mixed up with so many other things. You remember, overseas I was in command of a company.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I lost them.
How many?
Just about all.
Oh, gee.
It takes a little time to top that off. Because they weren't just men. For instance, one time, it had been raining several days, and this kid came to me. Gave me his last pair of dry socks, put them right in my pocket. That's only a little thing, but that's the kind of guys I had. They didn't just die, I mean, they killed themselves for each other. I mean that exactly. A little more selfish, and they'd still be here today. And I got this idea of watching them go down. Everything was being destroyed, see, but one new thing was being made, a sort of responsibility, man for man. You understand me? To show that. To bring that onto the earth like a monument, and everyone would feel it standing there behind him, and it would make a difference to him. And then I came home. And it was incredible. I mean, there was no meaning in it here. The whole thing to them was just like some kind of bus accident. I went back to work with Dad, and rat race again. I felt what you said. Ashamed somehow. I mean, nobody was changed at all. It seemed to make suckers out of a lot of guys. I felt wrong to be alive. To open the bank book. To drive the new car. To see the new refrigerator. I mean, you can take those things out of a war, but when you drive that car, you've got to know that it came out of the love a man can have for another man. And you've got to be a bit better because of that. Otherwise, what you have is really just loot. And there's blood on it. I didn't want to take any of it. And I guess that included you.
And you still feel that way?
I want you now, Anne.
Because you mustn't feel that way anymore. You have a right to whatever you have, everything, Chris. Understand that? To me, too. And the money, there's nothing wrong in your money. Your father puts hundreds of planes in the air. You should be proud. A man should be paid for that.
Oh, Anne. I'm going to make a fortune for you.
Hello? Yeah, sure.
What'll I do with the fortune?
Hey, Ann, your brother. What is this, Labor Day?
All right.
You shouldn't burst out like that.
Well, no one told me it was Labor Day. Where are the hot dogs?
All right, you said it once.
Well, as long as I know it's Labor Day from now on, I'll wear a bell around my neck.
So something.
George Bernard Shaw's an element.
Hey, George, you kissed it right out of my head. Andy, your brother's on the phone.
My brother?
Yeah, George, long distance.
What's the matter? Is
I don't know. Kate's talking to him. Hurry up. She'll cost him $5.
I wonder if we ought to tell your brother yet. I mean, I'm not very good at an argument.
Well, wait till tonight, after dinner. Don't be tense, just leave it to me.
What are you telling her?
Go ahead, Anne. Dad, we're getting married. Dad, won't you say something?
I'm glad, Chris. It's just... George is calling from Columbus.
Columbus?
Did Annie tell you he was going to see his father today?
No, I don't think she knew anything about it.
Say, Chris, you think you know it pretty good?
What kind of a question
I'm
is
just wondering. All these years he didn't go to see his father. Suddenly he goes. She comes here.
Well, what about it?
It's crazy, but it comes to my mind. She don't hold nothing against me, does she?
Dad, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just talking. Since I stay in court, the man blamed it all on me. This is his daughter. I mean, if she were sent here to find out something.
Why? What is there to find out?
I mean, if they
Why
wanted,
are you so excited, George? What happened?
if they wanted to open the case again for the nuisance value to hurt us.
Dad, how could you
What
think that
saying,
of
for
her?
God's sake?
It couldn't be, you know.
Dad, you amaze me.
All right, forget it. Forget it, Chris. I want a clean start. I want a new sign under the plan. Christopher Keller, Incorporated.
J.O. Keller is good enough.
We'll talk about it. I want to build you a house, Chris. Stone. The driveway from the road. I want you to spread out. I want you to use what I made for you. With joy, Chris. Without shame, but with joy.
I will, Dad.
Say it to me.
Why?
Because sometimes I feel like you're ashamed of the money.
No, you mustn't feel that.
Because there's nothing wrong with that money. That's good money.
Dad, you don't have to say this to me.
Look, I'll get to work on mother for you. We'll get her so drunk tonight, we'll all be getting married. It'll be a wedding like there never was seen, kid. Champagne, tuxedos.
Simply because when you get excited, you don't control yourself. Well, what did he tell you, for God's sake? All right, come then. Yes, they'll all be here. Nobody's running away from you. Try to get a hold of yourself, will you? All right. All right. Goodbye.
What's the matter?
Coming here?
On the 7 o'clock. He's in Columbus. I told you it would be all right.
Sure, fine. Your father took sick?
No, George didn't say he was sick. I don't know. I suppose it's something stupid. You know my brother. Let's go for a drive or something.
Sure. Give me the keys, Dad.
Drive to the park. It's beautiful now.
Be back right away.
See you.
Take your time. what George want?
He's been in Columbus since this morning with Steve. He's got to talk to Annie right away, he says.
What for?
I don't know. He's a lawyer now, Joe. George is a lawyer. All these years, he never even sent a postcard to Steve. Since he got back from the war, not a postcard.
So what?
Suddenly, he takes an airplane from New York to see him. An airplane.
Well,
Why?
I don't read minds. Do you?
Why, Joe? What has Steve suddenly got to tell him that he takes an airplane to see him?
Oh, I care what Steve's got to tell him.
You're sure, Joe?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just be smart now, Joe. The boy is coming. Be smart now.
What's your problem? Did you hear what I said? I said I'm sure.
All right, Joe. Just be smart now. Did you have to put on your good pants to do that? You notice there's more light with that thing on?
Why aren't you dressing?
Suffocating upstairs. I made George a grape drink. He always loved grape. You should come and have some.
Come on, get dressed. What's Dad sleeping so much for?
He's worried. When he's worried, he sleeps. We're dumb, Chris. Dad and I are stupid people. We don't know anything. You've got to protect us.
You're silly. What is there to be afraid of?
His last day in court, Steve never gave up the idea that Dad made him do it. If they open up the case again, I won't live through it.
George is just a damn fool, Mother. How could you take him seriously?
That whole family hates us. Maybe even Annie.
Now, Mother.
You think that just because you like everybody, they like you.
All right, would you stop working yourself up? Leave everything to me.
When George goes home, tell her to go with him.
I don't want you to worry about Annie.
Steve is her father, too.
Come on.
You don't realize how people can hate, Chris. They can hate so much they'll tear the world to pieces.
Look, she's dressed already.
Are you feeling okay?
Oh, what's the difference? There's certain people, you know, sicker they get, the longer they live.
You look nice. I just got to put on a shirt.
We're going to tell her tonight.
Absolutely. I don't want you to worry about it.
I wish we could tell her now. I can't stand scheming. My stomach gets hard.
It's not scheming. Just get her in a better mood, that's all.
Joe, are you going to sleep all day?
The only one who's relaxed is your father. He's fast asleep.
I'm relaxed.
Are you?
Look. Let me know when George is here.
It's my husband.
Oh!
Terribly sorry.
It's all right. I'm a little silly about the dark.
It is getting dark.
Are you looking for your husband?
As usual, he spends so much time here, they'll be charging him rent.
Nobody was dressed, so he drove over to the depot to pick up my brother.
You're your brothers then.
Yeah, they ought to be here in a minute now. Will you have a cold drink?
I will, thanks. My husband, too hot to drive me to the beach. Men are like little boys. For the neighbors who always cut the grass.
People like to do things for the colors. Been that way since I can remember.
It's amazing. Guess your brother is coming to give you away, right?
I don't know, I suppose.
Must be all nerved up.
It's always a problem getting yourself married, isn't it?
Depends on your shape, of course. I don't see why you should have had a problem.
I've had many chances.
I'll bet. It's romantic. It's very unusual to me, marrying the brother of your sweetheart.
I don't know. I think it's mostly that whenever I need somebody to tell me the truth, I've always thought of Chris. When he tells you something, you know it's so. He relaxes me.
And he's got money. That's important, you know?
It wouldn't matter to me.
You'd be surprised, it makes all the difference. I married an intern on my salary. That was bad because as soon as a woman supports a man, he owes her something. You never owe somebody without resenting them. It's true, you know.
Underneath, I think the doctor is very devoted.
Certainly. But it's bad when a man always sees the bars in front of him. Jim thinks he's in jail all the time.
Oh,
That's why I've been intending to ask you a small favor, Anne. Something very important to me.
certainly if I can do it.
You can. When you take up housekeeping, try and find a place away from here.
Are you fooling?
I'm very serious. My husband isn't happy with Chris around.
How is that?
Jim's a successful doctor. But he's got an idea he'd like to go into medical research, discover things, you see?
Isn't that good?
Research pays $25 a week. Not as laundering a hair shirt. You've got to give up your life to go into it.
How does Chris...
Chris makes people want to be better than it's possible to be. He does that to people.
Is that bad?
My husband has a family, dear. Every time he's in session with Chris, he feels as though he's compromising by not giving up everything for research. As though Chris or anybody else isn't compromising. It happens with Jim every couple of years. He meets a man and makes a statue out of him.
Maybe he's right. I don't mean that Chris is a
Now,
statue.
darling, you know he's not right.
I don't agree with you. Chris...
Let's face it, dear. Chris is working with his father, isn't he? He's taking money out of that business every week of the year.
What of it?
Ask me what of it.
I certainly do ask you. You often have aspersions like that. I'm surprised at you.
You're surprised at me.
He'd never take 5 cents out of that plate if there was anything wrong with it.
You know that?
I know it. I resent everything you've said.
You know what I resent, dear?
Please, I don't want to argue.
I resent living next door to the Holy Family. It makes me look like a bum. You understand?
I can't do anything about that.
Who is he to ruin a man's life? Everybody knows Joe pulled a fast one to get out of jail.
That's not true.
Then why don't you go out and talk to people? Go ahead, talk to them. There's not a person on this block who doesn't know the truth.
That's a lie. People come here all the time for cards and...
So what? They give him credit for being smart. I do too. I've got nothing against Joe. But if Chris wants people to put on a hair shirt, then let him take off his broadcloth. He's driving my husband crazy with those phony idealism of his, and I'm at that and my rope on it. Hello, darling. How's Mother?
I thought George came.
No, it was just us.
Susie, do me a favor, huh? Go up to Mother and see if you can calm her. She's all worked up.
She still doesn't know about you two?
Well, she senses it, I guess. You know my mother.
Oh yeah, she's psychic.
Maybe there's something in the medicine chest.
I'll give her one of everything. Don't worry about Kate. Give her a couple of drinks, dance her around a little, she'll love Anne. Because you're the female version of him. Don't be alarmed. I said version.
Interesting woman, isn't she?
Yeah, she's very interesting.
She's a great nurse, you know. She was one of the
Are
only
you still
people...
doing that?
Doing what?
As soon as you get to know somebody, you find a distinction for them. How do you know she's a great nurse?
Gee. Man, what's the matter?
The woman hates you. She despises you.
What's hit you?
Gee, Chris,
What happened to you?
you never... Why didn't you tell me?
Tell you what.
She says they think Joe is guilty.
What difference does it make what they think?
I don't care what they think. I just don't understand why you took the trouble to deny it. You said it was all forgotten.
I didn't want you to feel like there was anything wrong in you coming here. That's all. I know a lot of people think my father's still guilty, and I just assumed there was some question in your mind.
But I never once said I suspected him.
Nobody says it.
Chris, I know how much you love him, but you could never...
Do you think I could forgive him if he'd done that thing?
I'm not here out of a blue sky, Chris. I turned my back on my father, and if there's anything wrong here now,
I know that, Anne.
George is coming from Dad, and I don't think it's with a blessing.
George is welcome here. You have nothing to fear from him.
Tell me that. Just tell me that.
The man is innocent, Anne. Remember, he was falsely accused once and it put him through hell. How would you behave if you were put through the same thing again? Believe me, there is nothing wrong for you here. Believe me, kid.
All right, it's all right.
Every time I come out here, it looks like playland.
I thought you were going to shave.
In a minute. I just woke up. I can't see nothing.
You look shaved.
No. Gotta be extra special tonight. Big night tonight, Annie. So how's it feel to be a married woman?
I don't know yet.
What's the matter? You slipping?
The Great Rouet.
What is that, brouet?
It's French.
Oh, don't talk dirty.
You ever meet a bigger ignoramus?
Somebody's gotta make a living.
That's telling you.
I don't know. Everybody's getting so goddamn educated in this country, there'll be no one to take out the garbage. It's getting so only the dumb ones left are the bosses.
You're not so dumb, Joe.
Oh, I know, but going to our plant, for instance, and I got so many majors, lieutenants, and colonels that I'm ashamed to ask somebody to sweep the floor. I gotta be careful I'll insult somebody. No kidding. It's a tragedy. You stand on the street today and spit, you're gonna hit a college man.
Then don't spit.
I mean to say it's coming to a pass. Look, I've been thinking, Annie, about your brother George. I've been thinking about your brother George. When he comes, I'd like you to broach something to him.
Brooch?
What's the matter with brooch?
It's not English.
Night school was brooch.
Well, in day school, it's brooch.
Don't surround me, will you? Seriously, Anne, you say he's not well, George, so I've been thinking, why should he knock himself out there in New York with that cutthroat competition? I got so many friends here. I'm friendly with some big lawyers in town. I could set George up here.
That's awfully nice of you, Joe.
Oh, no, it ain't nice of me. Kid, I want you to understand. I'm thinking of Chris. See, this is what I mean. When you get older, you want to feel like you accomplished something. My only accomplishment's my son. I ain't brainy, it's all I accomplished. Now, in a year, 18 months, your father will be a free man. Who's he going to come to? His baby. You. He'll come all mad into your house.
That can't matter anymore, Joe.
I don't want that kind of hate to come between
I
us.
can only tell you that that could never happen.
Annie, you're in love now, but I'm older than you, and I know. A daughter's a daughter, and a father's a father, and it could happen. Look, I'd like you and George to go to him in prison and tell him, Dad, Joe wants to bring you into the business when you get out.
You'd have him as partner?
No, partner, a good job. I'd like him to know my sin up there, Annie. I'd like him to know he's got a place waiting for him. Take his bitterness away. Now you gotta place it. Sweeties, yeah.
Joe, you owe him nothing.
Oh, I owe him a good kick in the teeth.
Then kick him in the teeth. I do not want him in the plant, so that's that. Do you understand me? Besides, don't talk about him like that. People misunderstand you.
And I don't see why she has to crucify the man.
Well, it's her father. If she feels...
No.
What's it to you? Why...
My father's a father! I better shave. I didn't mean to yell at you, Annie.
Let's forget the whole thing, Joe.
Right. She's likable.
Hey, will you?
Right again.
I forgot all about it. Hi, I promised I'd fix Kate's hair for tonight. Did you comb it yet?
Always a smile, eh, Lydia?
Oh, sure, why not?
Come on up and comb my Katie's hair. She's got a big night tonight. Make her beautiful.
Yes, I will.
Hey, that could be a song. Come on up and comb my Katie's hair. Come on up, 'cause she's my lady fair. How's that for 1 year of night school? Come on up and comb my lady.
What's the matter? Where is he?
Where's your mother?
Upstairs, dressing.
What happened to George?
I asked him to wait in the car. Listen to me now. Can you take some advice? Don't bring him in here.
Why?
You know why he's here. There's blood in his eye. Drive him somewhere and talk to him alone.
Don't be an old lady.
He's come to take her home. What does that mean? You know what that means. Fight it out with him someplace else.
I'll drive him somewhere.
No. Will you stop?
Nobody is afraid of him here. Now cut that out. Hell of a way to do. What are you sitting out there for, huh?
Doctor said your mother is well. I didn't want to...
So what? She'd want to see you, wouldn't she? We've been waiting for you all afternoon.
This is filthy. Didn't you bring another shirt?
How about the beach, Jim?
Oh, it's too hot to drive.
How'd you get to the station, Zeppelin?
George, this is Mrs. Bayless. George, Mrs. Bayless.
How do you do?
You're the people who bought our house, aren't you?
That's right. Come and see what we did with it before you leave.
I liked it the way it was.
He's frank, isn't he?
See you later. Take it easy, fella.
Thanks for driving them. How about some grape juice, George? Mother made it especially for you.
Good old Kate remembered my grape juice.
Well, you drank enough of it in this house. How you been, George? Sit down.
Takes me a minute. Seems impossible.
What?
I'm back here.
Say, you've gotten a little nervous, haven't you?
Yeah, toward the end of the day. What are you, some big executive now?
Just kind of medium. How's the law?
Well, I don't know. When I was studying in the hospital, it seemed sensible, but outside, there doesn't seem to be much of a law. Trees got thick, didn't they? What's that?
Flew down last night. Was there for Larry, you know.
Why? Afraid you forget him?
What kind of remark is that?
When did you start wearing a hat?
Today. And now I decided to look like a lawyer anyway. Don't you recognize it?
Why?
It's your father's. He asked me to wear it.
How is he?
He got smaller.
Smaller?
Yeah, a little. He's a little man. That's what happens to suckers, you know. It's gonna went to him in time. In another year, there'd be nothing left but his smell.
What's the matter, George? What's the trouble?
The trouble? The trouble is when you make suckers out of people once, you shouldn't try to do it twice.
What does that mean?
You're not married yet, are you?
Will you sit down and stop?
You're not married yet.
Well, I'm not married yet.
Good, you're not gonna marry him.
Why am I not going to marry him?
Because his father destroyed our family.
Now look, George.
Good, short, Chris. Let's not argue. Tell her to come home with me. You know what I gotta say?
You don't want to be the voice of God now, do you? That's been your trouble all your life. You dive into things. What kind of a statement is that to make? You're a big boy now.
I'm a big boy now.
So don't come bowling in here. If you've got something to say, be civilized about it.
Don't civilize me.
Shh. You're going to talk like a grown man, aren't you?
Sit down, dear. Don't be angry. What's the matter? Now what's happened? You kissed me when I left. Now you...
My life turned upside down since then. I couldn't go back to work when you left. I wanted to go to Dad and tell him you're going to be married. It seemed impossible not to tell him. Annie, he loved you so much. You did a terrible thing we can never be forgiven. Not to send him a card at Christmas. I didn't see him once since I got home from the war. Annie, you don't know what was done to that man. You don't know what happened.
Of course I know.
You can't know. You wouldn't be here. Dad went to work that day. The night before, we came to him and showed him the cylinder heads. They were coming out of the process with defects. There was something wrong with the process. So Dad went directly to the phone and called here and called Joe to come down right away. But morning passed. No sign of Joe. By this time, Dad's got over 100 defectives, and the army is screaming at him for stuff, and he doesn't have anything to ship. So Dad calls again. And Joe tells him on the phone to weld. Cover up the cracks in any way you can and ship them out.
Are you through now?
I'm not through now! Dad was afraid. He wanted Joe there if he was going to do it. But Joe can't come down. He's sick. Sick! Suddenly he gets the flu! Suddenly! He promised to take responsibility. Don't you understand what I'm saying? On the telephone, you can't have responsibility. In court, you can always deny a phone call, and that's exactly what he did. They knew he was a liar the first time, but in appeal, they believed that rotten lie. But now Joe is the big shot, and your father is the patsy. So what are you going to do? Eat his food. Sleep in his bed. Answer me. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do, George?
He's too smart for me. I can't prove a phone
Then
call.
how dare you come in here with that rot?
George, the court.
The court did not know him, Annie, but you know. You know in your heart Joe did it.
If you don't know your voice, I'm going to throw you out of here.
She knows. She knows.
Get him out of here, Ann. Get him out of here.
George, I know everything you said. Dad told that whole thing in court, and
The court did not know him, Annie.
Shh. He'll say anything, George. George. You know how quick he can lie.
I'll ask you something. And you look me in the eye when you answer me.
I'll look you in the eye.
You know your father?
I know him well.
He's the kind of boss to let 120 cylinder heads be repaired and shipped out without anyone knowing about
He's
it.
that kind of boss.
He's the same man who never leaves his shop without first going around to see that all the lights are out.
The same man.
And he's the same Joe Keller who knows how many minutes a day his workers spend in the toilet.
The same Joe Keller.
And my father, that frightened mouse who never buy a shirt without anybody along would dare do such a thing on his own.
On his own. And because he's a frightened mouse, here's another thing you do. Throw the blame on somebody else because he's not man enough to take it himself. He tried it in court, but it didn't work. But with a fool like you, it works.
Chris, you're a liar to yourself.
Don't talk like that.
Tell me, George, what happened? The court record was good enough for you all these years. Why isn't it good now? Why did you believe it all these years?
Because you did. That's the truth, Chris. I believe everything because I thought you did. But today I heard it from his mouth. From his mouth, it's altogether different from the record. Anyone who knows him and knows your father will believe it from his mouth. Your dad took everything I have. I can't beat that. But she's the one item he's not going to grab. Get your things. Everything they have is covered in blood. You're not the kind of girl who can live with that. Get your things.
Man, you're not going to believe that, are you?
You know it's not true, don't you?
How can he tell you? It's his father. None of these things ever crossed your mind.
Yes, they've crossed my mind. Anything can cross your mind.
He knows, Andy. He knows.
The voice of God.
Then why is it your name on the business?
Oh, now what the hell is that?
Andy, why is his name on
Even
it?
when I don't own it.
Who are you kidding? Open your eyes. You know the both of them. Isn't that the first thing they do, the way they love each other? J.O. Keller and Son. I'll settle it. You want to settle it, or are you afraid to?
What are you talking about?
Let me go up and talk to your father. In 10 minutes, you'll have the answer. Or are you afraid of the answer?
I'm not afraid of the answer. I know the answer. But my mother isn't well, and I'm not going to have a fight here now.
Let me go to him.
We're not going to start a fight here now.
What more do you want?
Someone's coming. You'll go soon, I'll call a cab.
You're coming with me.
And don't mention marriage because we haven't told her yet.
You're coming with me.
Don't you understand? Don't, George. You're not going to start anything now.
You're not going to say anything now, George.
Georgie! Georgie!
Hello, Kate.
They made an old man out of you. Look, you're gray.
I know.
I told you when you went away, don't try for
I
medals.
didn't try, Kate. They made it very easy for me.
Go on, you're all alike. Look at him. Why'd you say he looks fine? He looks like a
I
ghost.
feel all right.
I'm sick to look at you. What's the matter with your mother? Why doesn't she feed you?
He just hasn't any appetite.
If he ate here, he'd have an appetite. I pity your husband. Sit down, George. I'll make you a sandwich.
I'm really not hungry, Kate.
Honest to God, it breaks my heart to see what happened to the children. How we worked and planned for you, and you turn out no better than us.
You haven't really changed at all. You know that, Kate?
Well, none of us have changed, Georgie. We all love you. Joe was just talking about the day that you were born when the water got shut off. People were carrying basins from a block away. A stranger would have thought the whole neighborhood was on fire. Why didn't you give him any juice?
I offered it to him.
You offered it to him. Give it to him. And now, you're going to sit here, and you're going to drink some juice, and you're going to look like something.
I feel hungry already, Kate.
She could turn Mahatma Gandhi into a heavyweight.
Listen, to hell with the restaurant. I got a ham in the icebox, and frozen strawberries, and avocados.
Well, I'll help you.
The train leaves at 8:30, yeah?
You're leaving?
No, Mother, she's not.
You hardly got here. Give yourself a chance to get acquainted again.
Sure, you hardly know us anymore, George.
Oh, well, Chris, if they can't stay.
It's just a matter of George, Mother. He planned on leaving.
No, wait a minute, Chris.
If you want to go, I'll take you to the station now. But if you're staying, no arguments while you're here.
Why should he argue? George and us have no argument. How could we have an argument, Georgie? We were hit by the same lightning. How can you... Did you see what happened to Larry's tree? Imagine. Well, I was fast asleep dreaming of it. The wind came along and it just...
Hey, Georgie! Georgie! Georgie!
Hello, Laffy. What'd you do? Grow?
I'm a big girl now.
Look what she can do to a hat.
Did you make that?
In 10 minutes.
I only rearranged it.
Ain't she classy? All she needs now is a Russian wolfhound.
It feels like someone's sitting on my head.
No, it's beautiful, Kate.
Didn't I hear you had a baby?
You don't hear so good. She's got 3 babies.
No kidding. 3.
Yeah, it was 1, 2, 3. You've been away a long time, Georgie.
I'm beginning to realize.
The trouble with you kids is you think too much.
Well, we think too.
Yeah, but not all the time.
They never took Frank, huh?
No, he was always 1 year ahead of the draft.
It was amazing. When they were calling boys 27, Frank was just 28. When they changed it to 28, he was just 29. That's why he took up astrology. It's all in when you were born. It just goes to show.
What doesn't go to show?
Don't be so intelligent. Some superstitions are very nice. Did Frank finish the horoscope?
I'm going in now. I'll ask him. Come on, Georgie. Come meet my babies.
I don't think so, Lydia.
Well, okay. Well, good luck to you, George.
Good luck to you. And Frank.
Frank!
She got pretty, huh?
Very pretty.
She's beautiful, you damned fool.
She used to laugh too
And
much.
you didn't laugh enough. While you were getting mad about fascism, Frank was getting into her bed.
You want to walk,
All the battles.
The day they started the draft, Georgie, I told you to love that girl.
And truer love hath no man.
I'm smarter than any of you.
She's wonderful.
Now you're going to listen to me, George. You had big principles, Eagle Scouts for 3 of you. And now, I got a tree. And this one, when the weather's bad, can't stand on his own 2 feet. And that big dope next door who never reads anything but Andy Gump has 3 children and his house paid off. Stop being a philosopher and look after yourself. Like Joe was just saying, you move back here, he'll help you get settled, and I'll find you a girl and put a smile on your face.
Joe wants me here?
He asked me to tell you, and I think it's a good idea.
Certainly. Why must you make believe you hate us, George? Is that another one of your principles, that you hate us? You don't hate us, Georgie. I know you. You can't fool me. I diapered you. Do you remember Mr. Marcy's daughter?
She's got you hooked already.
You look her over, George. You'll see that
She's got warts, George.
she hasn't got warts. So the girl has a beauty mark on her chin.
2 on her nose.
You remember it. Her father was this retired police inspector.
Sergeant George.
He's a very kind
He
man.
looks like a gorilla.
Well, he never shot anybody.
Look who's here. Georgie. Good to see you.
How are you, Joe?
So. Getting old. Coming to dinner with us?
No, gotta be back in New York.
I'll call a cab for you.
Too bad you can't stay, George. Sit down. He looks fine.
He looks terrible.
That's what I said. You look terrible, George. I wear the pants, she beats me with the belt.
I saw your factory on the way from the station. Looks like General Motors.
Oh, I wish it was General Motors, kid, but it ain't. Sit down, George. Sit down. So, you finally went to see your father, I hear.
Yes, this morning. What kind of stuff do you make now?
Little everything. Pressure cookers. We got assembly for washing machines. We got a nice flexible plant now. So, how'd you find Dad? Feel all right?
Oh, no, Joe, he's not well.
It's not as hard again, is it?
It's everything, Joe. It's his soul.
Uh-huh.
Hey, George, how about seeing what they did with your old house, huh?
Leave him be.
I'd like to talk to him.
Sure, you just got here. That's what they do, George. Little man makes a mistake, they hang him by the thumbs. Big ones become ambassadors. I wish you'd have told me you're in order to see Dad today.
I didn't know you were interested.
No way I am. I'd like him to know, George, that as far as I'm concerned, anytime he'd like, he's got a place with me. I'd like him to know that.
He hates your guts, Joe. Don't you know that?
I'd imagine this, but that can change too.
Steve was never like that.
He's like that now. He'd like to take every man who made money in the war and put him up against a wall.
You need a lot of bullets.
And he'd better not get any.
It's a sad thing to hear.
Why? What do you expect him to think of you?
It's sad to see that he hasn't changed. As long as I've known him, 25 years, the man never learned to take blame. You know that, George.
Well,
But you do know that. Because the way you come in here, you don't look like you remember it. Like in 1937, when we had that shop on Flood Street, and he damn near blew us all up with that heater he left burning for 2 days and no water. He wouldn't admit it was his fault either. I had a fire mechanic save his face. You remember that, George?
Yeah,
But I'm just mentioning it, because this is one of a lot of things. Like when he gave Frank that money to invest in oil stock.
yeah.
But it's good to remember these things, George. The way he cursed Frank because the stock went down, was that Frank's fault? To listen to him, Frank was a swindler. And all the man did was give him a bad tip.
I know.
Then remember them, George. Remember them. There are certain men in this world who'd rather see everybody hung before they'll take the blame. You understand me, George?
The cab is on its way. Would you like to wash?
Why must he go? Make the midnight, George.
Sure, you'll have dinner with us.
How about it? Why not? Reading at the lake would give us well time.
All right.
Now you're talking.
I got a shirt that'll go right with this suit.
Size 50 and a half, right, George?
Is Frank and Lydia coming?
Oh, I'll get you a date that'll make her look like.
I don't want a date.
Oh, I know a girl. Charlotte Tanner.
Go on, Charlotte, that's right.
Sure, call her up.
You go pick out a bag.
I never felt at home anywhere but here. It feels so... Kate, you're so young, you know? And Joe, you're remarkably the same.
Say, I ain't got time to be sick.
He hasn't been laid up in 15 years.
Except for my flu during the war.
Huh?
When I was sick during the war.
Well, sure. I meant except for that flu. Well, don't look at me like that. It slipped my mind. He wanted to go into work that day, but he could barely get himself out of bed. I thought he had pneumonia.
Why'd you
Look,
say
I know how you feel, kid. I'll never forgive myself. If I could have gone in that day, I'd never have allowed Dad to touch those heads.
She said you've never been sick.
I said he was sick, George.
And didn't you hear...
Do you remember every time you've been sick?
I remember pneumonia. Especially if I got it the day my partner went to go patch up cylinder heads. What happened that day, Joe?
Kate!
Frank, did you see George?
Georgie, Lydia told me, but you'll have to pardon me. I've got something amazing for you, Kate. I finished Larry's horoscope.
You'd be interested in this, George. It's wonderful.
Hey, George, the girl's on the phone.
He finished Larry's horoscope.
Frank, can't you pick a better time than this?
The greatest man who ever lived believed in the stars.
Stop filling your head with that junk.
Is it junk to feel that there is a greater power than ourselves? I studied the stars of his life, and I won't argue with you, Chris. I'm telling you, somewhere in this world, your brother is alive.
Why isn't it possible, Chris?
Because it's insane.
Just a minute now. I'll tell you something. You do with it as you please, but just let me say it. He was supposed to have died November 25th, right? But November 25th was his favorable day.
Mother.
Listen to
It
him.
was a day when everything good was shining on him, the kind of day he should have married on. You can laugh a lot of it. I understand you're laughing, but the odds are 1,000,000 to 1 that a man won't die on his favorable day. That's known. That's known, Chris.
Why isn't it possible? Why isn't it possible, Chris?
Don't you understand what she's saying? She just told you to go. What are you waiting for now?
Hey, nobody can tell her to go.
Thank you, darling, for your trouble. Can you tell them to wait, Frank?
Sure thing.
They'll be right out, driver.
She's not leaving, Mother.
You heard her say she's never been sick.
He misunderstood me, Chris.
He simply told your father to kill pilots and covered himself in bed.
You better answer him, Manny. Answer him.
I packed your bag, darling.
What?
I packed your bag. All you've got to do is close it.
I'm not closing anything. He asked me here, and I'm saying until he tells me to go. Until Chris tells me.
And that's all. Now get out of here, George.
But if that's how he feels.
That's all until Christ comes. About the case or Larry. Now get out of here, George.
You tell me. I want to hear you tell me.
Go, George. Don't take it that way, Georgie. Please don't take it that way.
What do you mean you packed her bag? How dare you pack her bag?
Chris.
How dare you pack her bag?
She's not his girl. She does not belong here.
Then I don't belong here.
She's Larry's girl.
And I'm his brother and he's dead. And I'm marrying his girl.
Never, never in this world.
You lost your mind?
You have nothing to say.
Oh, I got plenty to say. 3 years you've been talking like a...
Nothing. You have nothing to say.
Mother.
Now I say
Mother.
he's coming back and everybody has got to wait.
How long?
Wait.
How long?
Till he comes. Forever and ever until he comes.
Mother, I'm going ahead with this.
Chris, I've never said no to you in your life. And now I say no.
You'll never let him go until I do it.
I'll never let him go and you'll never let him go.
I've let him go. I've let him go a long
Then
time.
let your father go.
She's out of her mind.
All together. Your brother is alive, darling, because if he's dead, your father killed him. You understand me now? As long as you live, that boy is alive. God does not let his son be killed by his father. Now you see, don't you?
Now you see.
She's out of her mind.
Then you did it?
Never flew a P-40.
But the others?
She's out of her mind.
Dad, you did it?
What's the matter with you? You never flew a P-40.
Then you did do it. To the others?
What's the matter with you? What the hell's the matter with you?
How? How did you do that?
What's the matter with you?
Dad, you killed 21 men!
What, killed?
You killed them! You murdered them!
How could I kill anybody?
Dad!
I didn't kill anybody.
Then explain it to me! Explain to me what you did or I'll tear you to pieces!
No, Chris, no!
I want to know what you did, so tell me what you did. You had 120 cracked engine heads. What did you do with them?
If you're going to hang me now...
I'm listening! God Almighty, I am listening!
You're a boy. What could I do? A man's in a business. You got 120 cracked out of a business. You got a process. The process don't work. You're out of a business. You don't know how to operate. Your stuff's no good. They close you up. They tear up your contracts. What the hell is it to them? You lay 40 years in a business. They knock you out in 5 minutes. What could I do? Let them take 40 years? Let them take my life away? I never thought they'd install them. I swear to God, I thought they'd stop them before anyone took off.
Then why'd you ship them out?
By the time they could spot them, I thought I'd have the process going again, and I could show them they needed me, and they'd let it go by. But weeks went, with no kickback. I was going to tell them.
Why didn't you?
It was too late. The paper. It was all over the front page. 21 went down. They came in the shop with handcuffs. What could I do? For you, Chris. I did it for you. It was a chance and I took it for you. I'm 61 years old. When would I get another chance to make something for you? 61 years old, you don't get another chance, do ya?
You even knew they wouldn't hold up in the air.
I didn't say that.
But you were going to warn them not to use
But
them.
that don't mean.
It means you knew they'd crash.
It don't mean
Oh,
that.
then you thought they'd crash?
I was afraid, man.
Afraid, baby? God in heaven, what kind of a man are you? Kids were hanging in the air by those heads. You knew that.
For you, Chris, a business
For
you.
me? Where do you live? Where do you come from? You did it for me. I was dying every day. And you were killing my boys. And you did it for me? What the hell do you think I'm thinking of? The goddamn business? Is that as far as your mind can see? The business? The world? The business? What the hell do you mean you did it for me? Don't you have a country? Don't you live in a world? What the hell do you mean you did it for me? What even are you? You're not even an animal. I gotta rip the tongue right out of your mouth. God. Jesus. What must I do to you? Jesus. God. What must I do?
Chris. My Chris.
Any news?
No news.
Well, you can't sit up all night, dear. Why don't you go to bed?
I'm waiting for Chris. Don't worry about me, Jim. I'm perfectly all right.
But it's almost 2 o'clock.
I can't sleep. You have an emergency?
Somebody had a headache and thought he was dying. Half my patients are quite mad. Nobody realizes how many people are walking around loose and they're cracked as coconuts. Money. Money, 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 money. You say it long enough, it doesn't mean anything. I'd love to be around for that to happen.
You're so childish, Jim. Sometimes you are.
Kate, what happened?
I told you. He had an argument with Joe. Then he got in the car and drove away.
What kind of an argument?
An argument. Joe, he was crying like a child before.
They argued about Anne?
No, not Anne. Imagine, she hasn't come out of that room since he left. All night in that room.
What'd Joe do? Tell him?
Tell him what?
Don't be afraid, Kate, I know. I've always known.
How?
It occurred to me a long time ago.
I always had the feeling that in the back of his mind, Chris almost knew. I didn't think it'd be such a shock to him.
Chris would never know how to live with a thing like that. It takes a certain talent for lying. You have it, and I do. But not him.
What do you mean? He's not coming back?
No, he'll come back. We all come back, Kate. These private little revolutions always die. The compromise is always made. In a peculiar way, Frank is right. Every man does have a star. The star of one's honesty. You spend your life groping for it, but once it's out, it never lights again. I don't think he went very far. He probably just wanted to be alone to watch his star go out.
Just as long as he comes back.
Well, I wish he wouldn't, Kate. One year, I simply took off. Went to New Orleans. For 2 months, I lived on bananas and milk and studied a certain disease. It was beautiful. And then she came, she cried, and I went back home with her. And now I live in the usual darkness. I can't find myself. It's even hard sometimes to remember the kind of man I wanted to be. I'm a good husband. And Chris, he's a good son. He'll come back. I have a feeling he's in the park somewhere. I'll look around for him. Put her to bed, Joe. This is no good for what she's got.
What does he want?
His friend is not home.
Not like it makes it end so much.
It's too late, Joe. He knows.
How does he know?
Guessed a long time ago.
I don't like that.
What you don't like.
Yeah, what I don't like.
You can't fool yourself out of this one, Joe. Be smart now. This thing is not over.
And what is she doing up there? She don't come out of the room.
I don't know. What is she doing? Sit down, Joe. Stop being mad. You want to live? Better figure out your life.
She don't know, does she?
She saw Chris storm out of here. It's 1 and 1. She knows how to add.
Maybe I ought to talk to her.
Don't ask me, Joe.
Then who do I ask? I don't suppose she'll do anything about it.
You're asking me again.
Yeah, I'm asking you. What am I, a stranger? I thought I had a family here. What happened to my family?
You've got a family. I'm simply telling you I have no strength left to think anymore.
You have no strength. The moment there's trouble, you have no strength.
Joe, you're doing the same thing again. All your life, whenever there's trouble, you yell at me and you think that settles it.
Then what do I do? Talk to me. Tell me. What do I do?
Joe, I've been thinking this way. If he comes back,
What do you mean if? He's coming back.
I think if you sit him down and explain yourself, I mean, you ought to make it clear to him you know you did a terrible thing. If he could see you realize what you did, you see?
What ice does that cut?
I mean, if he could see you wanted to pay.
How can I pay?
Tell him that you're willing to go to prison.
That I'm willing
you wouldn't
to?
go. He wouldn't ask you to go. But if you told him you wanted to, if he could see that you wanted to pay, maybe he would forgive you.
He would forgive me? For what?
Joe, you know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean. You wanted money, so I made you money. Well, what must I be forgiven? You wanted money, didn't you?
I didn't want it that
Oh, I
way.
didn't want it that way either. What difference is it what you want? I spoiled the both of you. I should have put him out when he was 10 like when I was put out. Make him earn his keep. Then he'd know how a buck is made in the world. Forgiven. I could live off a quarter a day myself, but I got a family.
Joe! Don't excuse it that you did it for the family.
It's gotta excuse it.
There's something bigger than the family.
Nothing's bigger.
There is to him.
There was nothing he could do that I wouldn't forgive, because he's my son, because I'm his father and he's my son.
Joe, I tell you.
Nothing's bigger than that. And you're gonna tell him. You hear me? I'm his father and he's my son. And if there's something bigger than that, I'll put a bullet in my head.
You stop that!
You heard me. Now you know what to tell him. But he wouldn't put me away though. Wouldn't do that, would he?
He loved you, Joe. You broke his heart.
But to put me away?
I don't know. You know, I'm beginning to think we don't really know him. They say in the war he was such a killer. But here, he's always afraid of mice. I don't know him. I don't know what he'll do.
God damn. If Larry wasn't here, if Larry was here, he wouldn't act like this. He understood me. He understood the way the world is made. To him, the world had a 40-foot front, ended at the building line. This one, everything upsets him. Make a deal, overcharge 2 cents and his air falls out. No, he don't understand money. No. Yes, sir. That was a boy we lost, that Larry. What am I gonna do, Kate?
Joe, it'll be all right. Nothing is going to happen.
For you, Kate. For both of you. It's all I ever lived for.
I know, darling. I know.
Why do you stay up? I'll tell you when he comes.
You didn't have supper, did you? Why don't you make her something?
Sure, never mind, I'm all right. There's something I want to tell you. I'll do nothing about it.
Oh, she's a good girl. You see?
I'll do nothing about Joe, but you're going to do something for me. You made Chris feel guilty with me. Whether you wanted to or not, you crippled him in front of me. I'd like you to tell him that Larry is dead and that you know it. You understand me? I'm not going out of here alone. There's no life for me that way. I want you to set him free. And then everything will end and it will go away. And that's all.
You'll do that? You'll tell him?
I know, but I'm asking, Kate. You had 2 sons, but you've only got 1 now.
You'll tell him?
You've got to tell him so he knows you mean it.
Darling, Larry was dead. It couldn't depend on my words to make Chris know it. The night he gets into your bed, his heart will dry up. Because he knows, and you know. To his dying day, he will wait for his brother. No, my dear, no such thing. You're going in the morning, and you're going alone. That's your life, your lonely life.
Larry is dead.
Don't speak to me!
I said he's dead. I know. He crashed off the coast of China November 25th. His engine didn't fail him, but he died. I know.
How did he die? You're lying to me. If you know, how did he die?
I loved him. You know I loved him. Would I have looked at anyone else if I wasn't sure? That's enough for you.
What's enough for me? What the hell are you talking about?
You're hurting my wrists.
What are you talking about?
Joe, go in the house.
Why should I?
Please, go.
Let me know when he comes.
What's that?
Sit down. First, you gotta understand that when I came here, I didn't have any idea that Joe. I had nothing against him or you. I came to get married. I hoped. So I didn't bring this to hurt you. I thought I'd only show it to you. There was no other way to settle Larry in your mind.
Larry?
He wrote it to me just before he. I'm not trying to hurt you, Kate. Now remember, remember. I've been so lonely, Kate. I can't leave here alone again. You made me show it to you. You wouldn't believe me. I told you 100 times. Why wouldn't you believe me? Kate, please, please. Oh my God. Kate, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
What's the matter?
Where were you? You're all perspired. Where were you?
Just driving. Thought you'd be gone.
Where do I go? I have nowhere to go.
Where's Dad?
Inside, lying down.
Sit down. Both of you, I'll say what there is to say.
I didn't hear the car.
I left it in the garage.
Jim is out looking for you.
Mother, I'm going away. There's a couple of firms in Cleveland that I think I can get a place. I mean, I'm going for good. I know what you're thinking, and it's true. I'm yellow. I was made yellow in this house because I suspected my father and did nothing about it. But if I knew that night when I came home what I know now, he'd be in the district attorney's office and I'd have taken him there. Now if I look at him, all I can do is cry.
What are you talking about? What else can you do?
I could jail him. I could jail him if I were human anymore. But I'm like everybody else now. I'm practical. You made me practical.
But you have to be.
The cats in the alley are practical. The bums who ran away while we were fighting were practical. Only the dead ones weren't. And now I'm practical, and I spit on myself. I'm going. And I'm going now.
I'm coming with you.
No, Anne.
Chris, I don't ask you to do anything about Joe.
You do. You do.
I swear I never will.
In your heart, you always will.
Then do what you have to do.
What? I've been looking all night for a reason to make him suffer.
There's reason. There's reason.
What, do I raise the dead when I put him behind bars? Then what will I do it for? We used to shoot a man who acted like a dog, but the honor was real there. You were protecting something. Now this is the land of the great big dogs. You don't love a man, you eat him. That's the principle, the only one we live by. It just happened to kill a few people this time, that's all. The world is that way. How can I take that out on him? What sense does that make? This is a zoo. A zoo.
You know what he's got to do. Tell him. Let him go. I will not let him go, and I will tell him what he's got to do. Annie, and I will.
What's the matter with you? I want to talk to you.
I've got nothing to say.
Oh, I want to talk to you.
Do that, Dad. I'm gonna hurt hurt you if you do that.
Exactly what's the matter? What's the matter? You got too much money? Is that what bothers you?
It bothers me.
If you can't get used to it, then throw it away. You hear me? Take every cent and give it to charity. Throw it in the sewer. Does that settle it? In the sewer. You think I'm kidding? I'm telling you what to do. If it's dirty, then burn it. That's your money. That's not my money. I'm a dead man. I'm an old dead man. Nothing's mine. Talk to me. What do you want to do?
It's not what I want to do. It's what you want to do.
What should I want to do? Jail? You want me to go to jail? Is that where I should go? If you think I should go, then say so. Is that where I belong? Then tell me so. What's the matter? Why can't you say so? You say everything else to me, why can't you say that? I'll tell you why you can't say it. Because you know I don't belong here. Because you know. Who worked for nothing in that war? They work for nothing. I'll work for nothing. They ship a gun or a truck out of Detroit before they got their price? Is that clean? It's dollars and cents, nickels and dimes, war and peace. It's nickels and dimes. Half the goddamn country's gotta go if I gotta go. That's why you can't tell me.
That's exactly why.
Then why am I bad?
I know you're no worse than most men, but I thought you were better. I never saw you as a man. I saw you as my father. I can't look at you this way. I can't look at myself.
Give me that! He's going to read it. Larry, he wrote to me the day he died.
Larry?
Don't, Chris, it's not for you. Joe, go away.
Why'd you say Larry?
Go to the street, Joe. Go to the street. Don't, Chris, don't tell him.
3.5 years. Talking and talking. You tell me where you belong. This is how he died.
Chris, a man can't be a Jesus in this world.
I know all about the world. I know the whole crap story. Now listen to this and tell me what a man's got to be. My dear Anne, are you listening? He wrote this the day he died. Don't cry. Listen. My dear Anne, it is impossible to put down the things I feel, but I've got to tell you something. Yesterday, they flew in a load of papers from the States, and I read about Dad and your father being convicted. I can't express myself. I can't tell you how I feel. I can't bear to live anymore. Last night, I circled the base for 20 minutes before I could bring myself in. How could he have done that? Every day, 3 or 4 men never come back, and he sits back there doing business. I don't know how to tell you what I feel. I can't face anybody. I'm going out on a mission in a few minutes. They'll probably report me missing. If they do, I want you to know you mustn't wait for me. And if I had him here now, I could kill him. Now blame the world. Do you understand that letter?
I think I do. Get the car. I'll put on my jacket.
Why are you going? You'll sleep. Why are you
I
going?
can't sleep here. I'll feel better if I go.
No, you're so foolish. Larry was your son too, wasn't he? You know he'd never ask you to do this.
Then what is this, if it isn't telling me? Sure, he was my son. But I think to him, they were all my sons. I guess they were. I guess they were. I'll be right down.
You're not going to take him.
I'm taking him.
It's up to you. If you tell him to stay, he'll stay. Go tell him.
Nobody can stop him now.
You'll stop him. How long will he live in prison? Are you trying to kill him?
I thought you read this.
The war is over, Chris. Didn't you hear? It's over.
Then what was Larry to you? A stone that fell in the water? It's not enough for him to be sorry. Larry didn't kill himself to make you and Dad sorry.
What more can we be?
You can be better. Once and for all, you can understand that there is a universe of people out there that you are responsible to. And unless you know that, you threw away your son. Because that is why he died. Find Jim.
Joe. 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 Joe.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to.
Don't, dear. Don't take it on yourself. Forget now. Live.